posting isn't private. Beware what you share.
In Fairfield County, something new comes across my desk every day. Crimes are committed, cases are solved, and a community is made safe by the hardworking employees of the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office.
Welcome to This Week with Sheriff Dave Phalen, a weekly program here on LSN Television, Time Warner. And we're also carried by a couple of the radio affiliates here locally. Do appreciate you, the viewers and listeners that join us each and every week. This program is actually taped and put together right here at Fairfield Christian Academy. The students here are on the cameras on the control board in there. Our executive producer, Kelly Roberts, who lines up our guests, gets a lot of the questions together and does a terrific job doing that. And so we're going to have a great show. Last week we had with us Sergeant Jared Collins, our scrap commander. He's back.
Thanks for having me back,
Glad to have you back.
Hey, it's great to be back.
Take time out of your busy
really
schedule. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about our SWAT team. We're going to talk about training, all these things you're involved with. And also, we talked last week a lot about the SCRAP team, which is the Street Crime Reduction and Apprehension Program. So SWAT, or SCRAP, is actually an acronym for that. And before we get started with some of these other topics, just recap briefly in case the viewers or listeners missed last week's program. What is the SCRAP team?
The SCRAP team is a branch of the Major Crimes Unit. We conduct most of the street-level, short-term drug and major criminal investigations in the county.
So lots of things going on there. You had a busy year between major crimes and you made over 400 arrests last year.
Yes, sir.
Big year.
Busy year.
Busy year. If anyone has any suspicions or information they want to pass on to the Major Crimes Unit or the SCRAP Unit, how do they do that?
Call our tip line at 740-653-5224.
Okay, so if you have any information out there, make sure you call. Last week you indicated that in a given week you'll have 20
or 30 calls into the tip line with good, solid information.
And that's so important, isn't it? Because that's how really you get the information, whether it's a suspicious neighbor, somebody going to a park at a certain time every day, information about people coming in from Columbus on 33. That information is vital for your success.
It really is, and it says something about Fairfield County that we get that kind of community participation, and we have that kind of direct action unit like SCRAP that I think it encourages those type of tips coming in.
You know, you see across the country so many communities that are torn apart, and there's really areas where people aren't particularly supportive of law enforcement, but we don't see that in our county. We really have a strong support from our community, from our neighborhoods, from our businesses, from our elected officials.
We do, and I think it even extends to down to our officers. I think most of our officers live in the community,
right,
and have a vested interest in their own backyards.
Isn't that very well said? Now, tell us a little bit about the SWAT team, and you're part of the SWAT team, and what are your responsibilities with the SWAT team?
I'm second in command. I'm operations commander of the SWAT team under Lieutenant Alex Lape, who is our team commander.
Okay.
It's been an exciting few years for the SWAT unit. We're essentially a multi-jurisdictional unit. We've got officers from Pickerington Police Department on the unit. We've got officers from the New Lex Police Department. So we have, at this point, probably one of the best SWAT units, definitely one of the best part-time SWAT units in the entire state.
And I can remember Kelly Keys, who was retired from the Franklin County Sheriff's Office and has come aboard as an auxiliary. and done a lot of great work in the sheriff's office. But he said the same thing. He said he was just so impressed of the level of professionalism and the skill that you guys have.
We do. We've just every year we bring it up another level, and I think the citizens of Fairfield County should feel confident that they've got a unit that can handle pretty much anything.
What would be some of the areas or some of the types of situations where the SWAT team would be called out?
Generally, armed, barricaded individuals, hostage type runs. We do in this area. Kind of our bread and butter is we do a lot of suspect searches in wooded areas. Which are extremely dangerous. We do a fair amount of warrant service on only high-risk type situations. We've done search and rescue for lost kids. It's kind of any type of a function that highly trained, cohesive type unit guys are needed. We'll take care of those type of things.
And it wasn't too long ago, this past Christmas, I think that's a tradition where you guys actually do some community outreach.
We do. The guys love doing it. We worked with the Salvation Army loading cars of needy families. We've done that for probably the last, I would guess, at least 10, maybe 15 years. And the guys love it every year.
So how many members do we have on the SWAT team?
Right now, we've got 25, including our medics and our snipers. Okay. And, we've taken on 3 medics from the Violet Township Fire Department, and we've received just great support from that department and the men and women there. But
now explain how a medic fits in with the SWAT team.
Well, these medics are a little unique, and it's kind of, I won't say a pilot program, but a few SWAT units in the state are starting to integrate their fire and EMS medics into. Well, these 3 guys have gone to basic SWAT school. They're not police officers, but they've received essentially all the same training that our basic SWAT operators have. So they are actually in the tail of the line in every job that we go in, so that they are right there to help if something happens.
So if there would be a suspect shot, or if there would be a deputy or officer shot or hurt, they're there to help?
Absolutely, immediate assistance.
And what does it take to become a SWAT deputy?
We run yearly tryouts for SWAT, and it's you talk to a lot of the guys that have gone through the tryout in the last few years. It's extremely demanding 8 hours. That consists of right out of the gate, we kind of break them down physically with an assessment that includes running different strength and agility type tests. We then do a simulated room clearing and shooting exercise with paint marking simunitions and different things that we do to elevate their adrenaline and see how they function under extreme high stress. We then take them to the range and assess their shooting abilities and all those things. But some of the more important things we do is the work history. A lot of times we'll do, interview with spouses, significant others. Just we have to know that we're getting that fully well-rounded candidate onto the team. And then, of course, every one of them has to pass your muster also.
Yeah, so, and the other part is that they have to have a higher level proficiency with firearms than just a regular officer or deputy, right?
Absolutely. We hold our SWAT officers to a much higher firearms proficiency that they have to maintain 2 or 3 times a year to stay on the team.
So unlike a large agency like Columbus or New York, where they have a SWAT team that is in place, ready to go out, these are members of the sheriff's office who work their regular assignments or they're home and they're called out, right?
Yes, sir. And, it is actually a good thing because at any given time we have got SWAT officers dispersed throughout the county working the street as a normal shift, right, or behind a desk in the jail. So we have always got at least 4 or 5 guys that can do a direct response to a critical scene and be an immediate assistance.
Wow, wow. Training.
Yes,
You're
sir.
a big part of the training with the sheriff, so you kind of coordinate and take care of all the training?
Yes,
What's
sir.
some of the training that you have to have every year, kind of mandated, and what's some of the training that you're going to have special for 2015?
Well, lots of exciting stuff this year. We're mandated by the state of Ohio to do a couple hours of domestic violence training. So every single law enforcement officer in the state will undergo that training. On top of that, we are looking at all kinds of just interesting things that we're going to kind of offer up to the deputies this year as far as good training, including clandestine drug laboratory awareness and drug identification. That's huge.
Yeah, because they're on traffic stops. There's a lot of different things they come across, and those things are probably always changing, aren't they?
Oh yes, that's always a good thing for any officer to have a refresher on every couple years because the trends are just constantly moving. We're going to do some buddy aid, self aid with our SWAT medics coming in to train our deputies to take care of themselves in case of a traumatic injury such as a car crash or a gunshot wound. And to help until we can get medics on the scene.
Because let's face it, if there's some kind of a shooting out there, the deputy is the first one there.
Absolutely, absolutely. To be able to learn to apply a tourniquet and to do that other critical life-saving things are just huge in this type. In today's day and age.
And you think about the incident at the movie theater a couple years ago where there was a shooting, and then the officers actually were putting people in the back of the cruisers and getting them to the hospital. Life-saving stuff.
It's huge, and it's to say that medicine today lives under that golden hour rule that was learned in Iraq and Afghanistan as far as combat. If they can generally do these life-saving measures and get the patient to a hospital inside an hour, the survival rate is huge.
Right, right. So training's important.
Huge.
We try to do it every single year, and
Sure.
and I think what I've seen today. Last year we did some things on self-defense
Sure.
and different tactical things that the deputy could do.
And we're going to continue some of that type of things, doing stuff like some crime scene investigation, some legal update stuff. So we've got all kinds of stuff planned for the year.
Well, we're coming down to the last minute. Lots of things we could have probably continued on. Lots of things. We could talk probably an hour on training alone.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to have you back. We mentioned this last week to come in and maybe within the next few months look at different drugs we're seeing in the community and maybe put some out on a display, and we'll actually be able to show our viewers and describe to our listeners some of the things that you guys are seeing more of out there.
Definitely.
Appreciate Sergeant Jared Collins, a 22-year veteran of the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office, joining us, and what a great couple programs. Do appreciate you, the viewers and listeners that join us each and every week, and certainly the folks over at LSN, Time Warner, and Kelly Roberts, our executive producer. The students here at Fairfield Christian Academy that produce and put this program together. Do appreciate each and every one of you that help us with this program. I will just say that it's certainly an honor to be the sheriff, and I appreciate all the support we've had within the sheriff's office during the last few years, and it's very much appreciated. The clock on the wall says we're out of time. It's till next week, same time, same place. God bless, and we'll see you right here next week.